Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for The Curse, Season 1, Episode 4, titled Under the Big Tree.
Mhm.
If I'm a little out of breath, guys, I've been busy watching somebody else try to pick up an oven or at least
Oh
dolly it
my god,
onto a
it
truck.
was so funny.
That may be the most I've laughed in the entirety of this show so far. Mostly you knew it was going to happen. Like, this is one of those things you're watching the slow moving car crash, and this guy is just like, I'm not going to be able to lift it. And Aster, because he's a coward and the worst, just like, fine, go ahead. And just the sound effect, it was so much more dramatic than I expected it was going to be.
It was so funny. This was the first time that I really had like a big, huge belly laugh at this show. I was dying.
This is a $7,000 stove.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, I've never had anything even remotely close to 7,000. I would keep it just so that I could say I had a $7,000 stove, which is just why, Vic, I don't understand you. But granted, I don't understand the majority of the people on this show, and I think at this point, that's probably for the best because most of them suck.
I would say that for me, this was my favorite episode of the season
All
so
right.
far. I feel like the show is really diving into the storyline that I was the most curious about, which is the curse. Is this a real curse? Is this something that they're kind of, manifesting on themselves? And there was a lot more talk about that in this.
I will say that this is the first episode where I just wasn't completely annoyed by Dougie for the entirety of the hour. Like, the first 3 episodes, I was just sort of like, who cares? Yes, you brought us the Love in the Third Degree trailer, which was remarkable. But other than that, I just have not been invested in anything he has done. He still has a little bit of work to go, but this is like a completely tragic character. This is the most tragic character on this entire show, and it kind of does make me wonder, tinfoil hat on, like,
Mhm.
is there actually a redemption for Dougie in a way that we probably are not going to have for Asher and Whitney? Because I do not think those two are redeemable at all.
I don't know if any of them are really redeemable. I know that Dougie is definitely a tragic character, but at the same time, I mean, there was that whole discussion in this episode with Asher and Dougie about the curse,
Yeah.
where, Dougie was trying to kind of pass the buck on what he did and his responsibility and what happened to his wife on, oh, I was also cursed too. It couldn't have been me and my decisions and what I did and that I'm responsible. Somebody mysteriously cursed me. So he's still, to me, in the same realm as everybody else, which is that this is a show of a lot of just really unlikable characters.
Well, we have so much to discuss just from that alone, and we have live streams every single week where we talk all about the curse. We share theories. We get really animated about some of this crazy stuff, and they're at our Patreon. If you head to the link below,
Mhm.
you can join and take part in these streams every single week. You'll have a great time. You can, we will still be losing our minds about this show. Rest assured of that.
It's also a really great way to help support us here at the channel so that we can continue to bring videos to you guys.
Okay, I'm going to put on my lab coat here. I don't actually know. The therapists probably don't wear lab coats.
Probably not, no.
I've been to therapy. I really should know this, but it's just like, Dougie, you need therapy. This is the biggest. You need to understand and unpack your grief. Everything that this guy has going on feels entirely symptomatic of the fact that he's not over what happened. He's
Mhm.
still in the denial phase of it, trying to find some sort of excuse for why it happened. Clearly, you have a very, very bad drinking problem, judging from what happened at the very start of this, where you're trying to numb yourself with
Mhm.
drinking. You're trying to numb yourself by having people around all the time, to the point you're calling Asher and you're wanting to hang out and spend time with Asher. I don't want to spend time with that guy ever. Like, I especially don't want to go to comedy class with that guy, but we'll get to that a little bit later. It's just like, I think if he got a little bit of help, maybe he could understand himself a little bit better. Maybe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he has done some really awful things, but he needs to talk through this stuff with an actual professional.
Yeah, the way that he's going about it, we saw him at the beginning of this episode. He wakes up, he's in his car, he gets the good news that the show is being picked up for 10 episodes, but then he looks around, there's like 2 other cars there. Nobody's there. He's got a message on his hand to like look under the big tree. And he realizes as he sort of goes through this like, dude, where's my car moment, that he's like bought alcohol for this boy who's underage to teach him a lesson about drinking, to supervise him. He thinks he's doing the right thing by, if he's going to do it, it's better that it's supervised. It's like, no, it's better that just everybody says no. Like, stop. You're not actually being helpful in this situation at all, Dougie, but he really thinks he is.
Yeah, he is the strangest savior I think I have ever seen, where he's just like,
they all are.
Yeah.
All 3 of them think that they're being saviors. Like, it's so cringy to watch, of course, it's Nathan Fielder, so it's going to be cringy to watch.
Fantastic, dude. Where's my car reference?
Thank you.
In there, Zoltan. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why I remember that. I should be punished indefinitely for that. Okay, no, the Dougie storyline is getting progressively more interesting.
Yeah.
I still have a hard time kind of figuring out exactly where that's going to go, just because I don't know who's actually going to tell Dougie he needs to get the help that he needs, because it is certainly not Asher, who in this episode, in theory, should have at least something to celebrate, because the show has been picked up.
Mm-hmm.
He has like some sort of viable future there. But no, he's got to overcomplicate things in every single degree possible. He and Whitney both are very upset about the fact that here is Vic, who has purchased this home, has already destroyed its passive home certification by getting rid of this oven. And Asher, you could just have a conversation about what to do with this stove. You don't need to go on some like Mission Impossible style sting operation in order to covertly get this stove back. It's just, he does nothing that makes sense.
Both of them are such cowards.
Yeah.
Like, such cowards. Like, Whitney really wants to be liked by everyone. And listen, Whitney, I have just here to tell you, like, that's nobody. Nobody is just liked by everybody. People are complicated, and that's okay. Everybody's got good things about themselves and bad things about themselves and gray areas about themselves. That's what makes people so interesting in the first place. But you just want to be seen as like this good person all around, no matter what is going on, instead of just standing up for what you believe in, which are these passive houses. To be like, listen, sold you this house to be a passive house in this area. We're trying to do something good with it. Okay, you were the wrong person to have bought this house. Like, at that point, they need to figure out, like, can we rebuy this house back from him to sell it to somebody else? And I understand what she's kind of saying, like, oh, can we put it in the contract that if you're buying a passive house, you have to keep it as a passive house? Yeah, you can't really ask that, but you can try, right? But
yeah.
At that point, it's like, okay, if you've gotten rid of this stove, that's $7,000 of money that we put in to make sure that this house is okay. Vic, we're taking the stove. Like, if you don't want the stove, we're just taking it. So we're going to have somebody come by with a truck and pick it up for you. She could even spin it in that way to be like, hey, we'll do you a solid. You don't want this stove? No problem. I'll have Asher come by with somebody to pick it up and get it off your property. Okay, cool, whatever, right? Like, and then there was also everything that Vic was doing, sending out this message, like, to everybody in the community to basically be like, you're all a bunch of thieves stealing my packages. And even Whitney looks up at like, there's a camera right there at the door. Asher later is like, oh, I can't be on camera. It's like, would he not have known who took that package, or has he unhooked his camera? Like, what is going on?
It's a great
cowards. Everybody's a coward. Stop it.
Okay, this is what Asher you needed to just do, and you've already spelled it out here. I'm gonna do a terrible Asher impression.
Oh my goodness, here we go.
Hey Vic,
oh, that's not bad.
I need you to I need this stove, and I know you would never be that direct, Asher. This is not in your DNA, but just take the stove. He's not gonna need the stove. Just go ahead and take the stove. And as for what you said about the cameras, like, what I was thinking about here, at least to some extent, is either he's trying to pull some elaborate scheme here where he can get multiple computers and it's just easy to throw everyone in the community under the bus in order to make that happen. Or, you know, like you sort of alluded, this is a situation where he has the cameras up to look like there's some sort of deterrent, but for whatever reason, he doesn't actually want to connect them all the time. Maybe he doesn't want to pay like the extra amount of money and energy bills to do something like that, and he's just found himself up the creek without a paddle. But I have a hard time believing that this idea that in a very short period of time after this guy moved, like all of his packages are mysteriously disappearing. It's a little bit too much here, Vic. And I know that Asher and Whitney suck, but here's the thing. You also suck. And because of that, I'm not sympathetic to anything that is happening with you.
No, he's also a terrible person, but that is part of the makeup of this show. It really is, you know, we've said it before. It's sort of like a Succession or a White Lotus where it's just everybody on the show is really unlikable, but you have the story that's kind of pulling it all together, that while it's like, okay, you're not necessarily rooting for the characters because they're all kind of terrible people, but you're invested in the story enough that it just doesn't matter.
Right. Well, Asher, you failed entirely at this. You wasted $7,000. Whitney is going to be very, very upset with you after the fact because there's a much better way that you could have done this. But we'll navigate ourselves now.
They're wasting their money on all kinds of things. Like when they brought over food and it's like, how did you like those beet chips? I'm like, stop it. Like, just stop. I know that you probably paid $10 for a little bag of beet chips.
There's two different things that are always incredibly disappointing about the $10 bag of beet chips. Number one, the actual taste of the beet chips. Number two, the fact that you paid $10 and yeah, you might have like 5 beet chips in here. You want to talk about the ultimate?
Yeah.
Here's how you really stay healthy, everybody. You just reduce the serving size to ash. It's like those, you see all these like weight loss commercials promising that we have the secret for how you guys are going to lose weight. And then you actually get it and it's just like, oh yeah, you can have pizza. You can have everything you want. Like we said in the commercial, you're having like this much pizza. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
You take like one bite of pepperoni.
And it's over.
It's over. That's it. Okay. Let's get into Abshir and Nala and venturing back into the world of the curse itself, because clearly Asher cannot let this go to the point that he's coming over under the guise of, oh, I gotta check some things. I gotta see if there's some mold going on, that he's now showing Nala various degrees of pasta. Like, here's some penne. This is, dude, if Nala is actually cursing you, I don't think her knowledge of what sort of pasta is which is going to get you anywhere. I think it's already weird enough. It's not going to become less weird now.
Yeah, the thing about the curse that I think, you know, he's missing, that Asher's just like, it's going over his head, is the curse is over.
Yeah.
She gave this tiny curse. He's not going to have chicken in his spaghetti. That already happened.
Yeah.
So what is it then now at this point that he thinks she's gonna do? Like, the curse happened, it's over, it's complete. So if he's now worked something out where she seems fine now, you know, her father has stopped her, has been like, listen, like, stop bringing up this curse.
Yeah.
Like, I have finally gotten her to stop talking about it. It's manifesting negative energy. And this is the first time that's really kind of been brought into the show of sort of like, you make your own energy. And I know there's like lots of self-help books out there and whatever,
Yeah.
like the laws of attraction of like, you put out negative, you get negative. You put out positive, you get positive, sort of thing. That, you know, he's just like, stop it. Like, you know, I already have enough negative stuff going on in my life, and I don't need my daughter's head feeling really negative too, that she gets really stuck on this. So stop bringing it up. But it's really the first time that we got into this spot where it's like, Asher is doing this to himself. He is manifesting these negative things himself. The curse, if it was ever real, it's over. She's complete. No chicken in your pasta.
Yeah.
So what else is there? There's nothing else. It's not ongoing.
He just, for whatever reason, he's one of these sort of guys who thinks that he has to have a clear answer for everything, and he can't let it go until he gets some sort of clear answer. But, you know, sometimes things are abstract. Sometimes you're not
They
meant to
are.
understand everything.
No. And what the question is that I think Asher really wants to ask, but he won't because
Yeah.
he's a coward, is, are you going to curse me again? Or is there anything else in that curse that
Yeah.
you've added into it? Like, but these questions are a bit, they're a bit ridiculous. She already said, listen, it's a TikTok trend.
Yeah.
This is what I did. She's a really young girl. He's an adult.
Yeah.
Like, it's so ridiculous, but he's so stuck in his head about it that, he's just continuing to sort of manifest this negative energy, even though nothing's really happening to him. Like, his show has just gotten picked up. He's had a great day. Things are all coming together. Yeah, there's the stove, but like that's not, taking out the balance of like, hey, your show just got picked up for 10 episodes. This is like really great news for you.
Yeah, it's just like a dream come true. You don't know how to be happy, Asher. Like that's one of your problems. And I think the other issue here, and this is sort of a mirror as to what we're sort of seeing with other people, is just that Asher can't admit to himself that he was cursed because he was a bad person doing a bad thing. And if he gets cursed again, it's going to be because he was a bad person doing a bad thing. He just doesn't want to claim full responsibility as to why the curse actually happened. And
Yeah.
that's the fundamental thing that's going on here, is that, yeah, Nala didn't know him. Like, other than a trend, she didn't have any reason to actually do this. But at the same time,
Oh,
would Nala have done this if he just came over, gave her some money, walked away, never saw her again, never tried to take the money back? Absolutely not. She did this because you were being a jerk.
yeah. And Asher just wasn't picking up sort of on any of the clues, even when he was talking to her and they were putting away the groceries,
Yeah,
where it was like, oh yeah, she loves spaghetti and she loves pasta, and they're just putting away all
yeah,
these different pastas. That's kind of like, get the clue together that she just picked this because it's her favorite meal. She
yeah,
has it all the time. She really likes spaghetti. Like, it's such a, yeah, it's a curse, but it's also such an innocent thing. Oh, you're
yeah.
not gonna have some chicken in your spaghetti. It's like, oh my god, stop. Asher, you're a grown man.
Okay, let's pose this question out there to all you guys in the comments too, which is, was Dougie egging Asher on with what's going on in the footage? Like, why is this static showing up right after the curse? Is this like some sort of added drama or mysticism? Is Dougie just trying to make everybody else freak out? Like, if we go back to the
Yeah.
premiere, there was that weird thing with Dougie and Whitney where it felt like he's just like kind of sort of hitting on her a little bit. And it does raise this question of just like, is he trying to get Asher to spiral for whatever reason? Or does he just think that's going to be better TV if Asher is paranoid all the time?
Yeah, it's really interesting with Dougie in that way, because he also like apologized for like picking on him when they were, younger men, and
Yeah.
Asher was just like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought we were all just kind of joking around or whatever, but clearly it's something that Dougie felt like he was doing wrong. So it's like, for me, this is how I interpreted this whole thing, is that Dougie is just trying to pass the buck, that
Mhm.
he's just like, oh, yes, absolutely. Curses are real. This could be happening to you. Here's this weird little bit of static. I believe in curses because I was absolutely cursed. By who? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. But like, it wasn't my responsibility of what happened to my wife. So absolutely, look at us together bonding over our curses.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's where we're probably going to see this go further, is that if Dougie sees another opportunity to sort of explain to Asher how he's cursed to try to make himself feel better or
Mhm.
absolved, I can totally see that happening. Now, there's two moments at the end of this episode that are very, very striking to me. Obviously,
Mhm.
one of them, Asher in comedy class, where he can't even
Oh,
follow
man.
basic instructions. I will admit I will relate slightly to Asher in this. When I was in high school, I was a theater kid. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sure that's a real surprise after watching me over the course of time. But I did a couple of like improv things in high school, and there's nothing worse than like doing something in a comedy environment and nobody is laughing at you because it just makes you feel like you're so bad. But I know I
Oh.
was so that's why I felt a little bit bad for Asher, but at the same time, the instructions were clear, Asher. You don't talk, and that is the first thing you did.
He was way funnier than some of the other people. One guy's just like climbing a rope. I'm like,
I laughed at that.
and everybody's laughing. I'm like, stop it. This is not funny.
That the guy who was leading this class, like that guy was the person I would have the hardest time laughing at, just because it's just like, okay, this is your job, and I think you're not really that much funnier than a lot of these other people who are sitting in this circle. But
Yeah.
it was interesting that, with Nala, he's trying to like do a couple of things to make her laugh at some point, with the nail color and all that. And then we have everything at
And
the
the
end.
old man voice.
Yeah, it's like he can't get anybody to laugh at him. And the focus group has come in. They don't like him either. It's a hard place to be. And I
Mhm.
think he's gonna kind of figure out that the only time people are probably gonna laugh at him is when he is just like in complete misery. And I that's hard. And if you were a better person, Asher, I would probably feel a little bit bad for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of again the tough thing with the show is that the characters are really unlikable and
Yeah.
that they're having a harder time showing that they're more complete people. That, like, I don't think that Asher and Whitney are all bad or all good. I don't think they're good really much at all, but I
Yeah.
mean, like that, but that's because that's what we're seeing. We're just not seeing more of the better side of them. We see it a little bit, like what's going on with them trying to help the family, but at the same time it's kind of, it's selfish and they're
Yeah.
doing it for themselves. Like, it's not really like you want to help them out. Asher wants to help them out because he's worried about this curse. It's not
Yeah.
really about like doing the right thing or like trying to help out another person.
I think Whitney at the same time is so desperate to try to help people because she doesn't want to be seen like her parents. She has this sort of big TV job and she's trying to be the front face of this like company. And there's this interesting scene at the very end of this where, she walks in on this pretty just like fascinating
Mhm.
scene where she's watching all of these people in the midst of this experience, and we see the sign that's going up on the wall, and it's just sort of like this pseudo validation of, oh, do good things for other people, make the world a better place. And she's not participating, but she's on the outside looking in, and she
Mhm.
sort of thinks that she can come in for 2 seconds, get the message, and then go out and apply that to her everyday life. And it's like, you're not actually doing anything. You just sort of saw this. It's like you walk up to like a big charity event, like a charity cakewalk. You don't buy any of the cakes. You just look, hey, there's cake. I'm gonna be a better person now, and you leave. And that doesn't really work, Whitney. She's the most superficial, like confounding character because I still barely know anything about what she really is.
She cannot connect with another person. She just won't allow it.
Yeah.
We don't know what the background on that is. If she doesn't want to be like her parents. I mean, we met her parents briefly. They seemed fine. Like, I know
Mhm.
what they said about them, but we don't really know them. We
Yeah.
don't know what's true. We don't know what's true about them, but she just will not let anybody get close to her, and she just wants people to see her as only good, which, like I said, is just it's a ridiculous thing. It's not a
Yeah.
real thing. Nobody's just all good. Like, people will try to do the right thing, and that's great, and people
Yeah.
should try to do the right thing, but nobody's all good, and nobody's just like, people are complicated.
Yeah.
But it's making it very hard to get to know her, to see her. Like, even when I saw her petting that dog, I was like, everything just feels like you think you should be petting this dog and being friendly, but you don't feel like you're petting this dog and being friendly.
She's like a robot who has just like been turned on and is walking around in the real world for the first time, and she's just sort of like, I need to emulate human behavior.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to watch. I
Yeah.
mean, Emma Stone is great, and
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to see this character develop. We'll see where things go over time, but we have another stove. We got to go and move, everybody. So
Oh,
we're
no.
going to we're going to sign this off. If we're not back, it's because the stove fell on us and we're
No, no,
trapped
no. We're
somewhere.
going to do it together. Stop it. We ain't cowards.
Okay, we got this going on, but be sure to join our Patreon weekly live streams all about the curse. We look forward to seeing you guys there, and thank you to our patrons for
Thank
your
you.
support. We'll see you here next time.